Luke here of SimBoxx. Welcome along to episode 21 of the Let's Talk Boxing podcast. And what a week of boxing we have ahead of us. What a weekend of action we've just come on from. Jamie, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here as usual. This is as good as it gets as a boxing fan, isn't it?
Oh, mate, great weekend just gone. Belting weekend coming up. It's juicy, man. It's juicy. And if you're a boxing lover, what more do you want? Bank holiday weekend. I think it's three back-to-back shows over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's four if we count Pat Brown versus Vasil Ducar on Friday. Then we got Lauren Price defending her unified welterweight world titles in Wales on BBC Two. At the same time, Deontay Wilder, Derek Chisora throwdown in London. And then Sunday, we have got the Jake Paul MVP all-female card, or majority female card anyway, headlined by the fantastic Caroline Dubois versus Terry Harper fight. So, yeah, we've got all that to get into, but there is only really one place to start, and that was last Saturday in Manchester at the Co-op. 15, 16, 17,000 fans in attendance to watch what really was a magnificent seven card. Frank Warren hit the jackpot yet again. 7 equally matched fights throughout a plethora of different results, upsets, home fighters winning, knockouts, and the cherry on the icing on top of the cake for me, Jamie, was Moses Itaumas. And he's been on the lips of every boxing fan, every social media account since Saturday night, stopping Jermaine Franklin, the first man to stop Jermaine Franklin, and he'd done that inside 5 rounds with a punch-perfect knockout on it. That corkscrew step back uppercut was a thing of beauty.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was just, I didn't even see it coming, to be fair. It was just like, it was literally, the shot just came out of nowhere, and Franklin just literally just decombobulated, like, on the deck, face planted. Wow. And do you know what? It weren't even just a great uppercut knockout. It was everything leading up to that. Like, again, he was pretty much punch perfect. And, the way he just controls range, and he's so agile and athletic in there. He is the complete package at heavyweight. And it's like, what more can you do now apart from put him in with the world's best? Because that tier just below him just can't handle him.
That's it. The thing is that there wasn't 1 ounce of frustration in his performance. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, but you'd never guess it. He's touted as the next best thing in the heavyweight division. And that people are seeing this knockout concussive power in the land of the giants. We all pay to see knockouts. We love the fleet-footedness and the quick hand speed of a Tyson Fury or an Alexander Usyk, but let's have it straight. We love the Anthony Joshua knockouts, the Deontay Wilder knockouts, the George Foreman knockouts, the Tyson knockouts. But we're getting a mix of everything there with Moses Itaumas. And with the eyeballs of the boxing world on him, he goes past 2, 3, 4 rounds, and he doesn't deviate from the plan. If anything, I'm sure he said in the corner to Ben Davison as well after round 1 or 2,
the pace to slow it down quick. A bit,
yeah. He's assessing himself, and this is what blows my mind. He's 21 years of age. It's unbelievable, and to keep that focus, that rigid to the game plan, and stay that in control through 5 rounds against a stubborn opponent in Jermaine Franklin, who, he was never going to be body beautiful, and he got took out eventually in 5 rounds. But he wasn't just a walking punch bag.
He was trying. He tried to give a count himself.
Yeah, he had a game plan of sorts. So, yeah, the superlatives that we can throw at Moses Itaumas are endless. And it's inside and outside the ring. It's the way he carries himself, the way he conducts pre-fight, post-fight interviews. I think he was speaking to Ariel Hawana, saying, "I didn't expect it. I surprised myself." So he's in. He's fully aware of what's around him. He's not this disrespectful. Oh, I'm gonna knock him out. He won't last 5 minutes with me. He won't last 2 rounds with me. He fully knows the game, and that's, for me, Jamie, the most impressive thing.
Yeah, he's quite humble, isn't he, with it? And I'll tell you a bit of a mad story. We went to, I can't remember who the fight was in Manchester, but it was at the Court Live. We went, Emily Whitworth, it was her pro debut, it was that card. And we're walking in, and I just looked to my left, and I'm like, yo, that's Moses Itaumas. And he was just walking in, the normal entrance with us. And I'm like, so having a chat with him, I'm like, why are you walking in here with like the peasants as we are the civilians? Shouldn't you be like VIP? He went, no, I'm not up there yet. Like I said, maybe we get a bit more of a name. And I remember just saying, I went, hey, I'll tell you what, maybe next year you might be headlining here. And I think it was only like 18 months later he ended up actually headlining there, and it's you could see it. You can just see it coming, and where he's going to go is, I think he is the next unstoppable heavyweight because, like you said, he's a bit of everything, isn't he? Like he's got fast hands, he's got quick feet, creates angles, he's got a great boxing brain and IQ, and he knocks people out as well. And we'll just have to see what's next for him. But I feel sorry for whoever is next for Moses Itaumas.
Absolutely. We will touch on Moses again a little bit down the podcast. We'll pick the bones of some of the seven great fights that was on there. I think you could only argue the only one that kind of didn't really meet expectation, for the want of a better term, was Willie Hutchinson against Ezra Taylor. That was very, very one-sided, and I think it's fair to say, with all due respect to Ezra Taylor, he was outclassed, and we expected a little bit more of an even contest. Certainly, I did. I picked Willie Hutchinson to win, but it wasn't really a contest, was it? I was quite underwhelmed by that fight, but that was, all praise to Willie Hutchinson for getting the win in the manner that he did. Like I say, very dominant. But if there was one underwhelming aspect, it was that I really thought that fight was going to catch fire, Jamie.
Yeah, I honestly, I text my mate saying, this could be one of the, probably the fight of the night. Genuine dislike. But I thought they were going to get in the middle of the ring and bang it out, and I think probably Taylor probably thought that because he the way that he approached the fight and the way that he fought was like somebody that was going to stand in the middle of the ring, and it was going to be an inside fight, and he just never deviated. I don't know what the game plan was, but he just couldn't do anything, could he? Like, and he couldn't change it. And that was the telling part was he literally didn't change it up in any way, and I don't think he could change it up. There was nothing that he could do. He just kept walking forward, gloves
Very
up.
tense, wasn't he? Very tense,
Yeah,
very
very
rigid in
tense,
the upper
very
body.
robotic, if you want to say. And like you said, he weren't winning, and he was losing rounds and rounds, and he just didn't change it. Whether that's because he could or he couldn't, or because, mate, obviously Willie Hutchinson's performance was that great in a sense, on a boxing level, because he kept him at better. He obviously stopped him from being able to maybe change the game plan. But yeah, it was very underwhelming because you kind of at one point wanted it to finish because you knew where it was going in a way, and that was no disrespect to Willie Hutchinson because obviously he put in a great performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Liam Davis picked up the European title as well in what was a great victory. But I want to touch on the first fight of the night to begin with, which is Michael Gomez Jr. stopping Jordan Flynn. I had Michael Gomez winning the fight going in, but that was utterly dominant. And I think we've seen in the days afterwards, Jordan Flynn unfortunately suffered two breaks to his jaw. So just goes to show the damage that he took in such a small time frame. 2 or 3 rounds the fight lasted. Michael Gomez Jr., we've had him on the channel a good few times. I should be down there in the next week or so to speak to the guys at Rutter's Gym again. But a great win for him, and he put a lot of pressure on himself in the build-up to that fight, Jamie, saying that his career's on the line, and that if he doesn't win this fight, that'll be it for him. And we all know who he wants next. He doesn't name the man, but we all know he wants Akavias next. And that announcement press conference, will be pay-per-view on its own.
Yeah, I think that's a fight that needs to definitely be made, and like you said, that'll go off in the press conference. And I think that's a win that Michael Gomez definitely needed. He was a man that knew he had a lot of weight on his shoulders. Obviously, he changed camp, moved into the Rutter's Gym, trained there with Alex Rutter now. So
Moved
there
up to
was a lot on
lightweight
him.
as well.
What's that?
The move up to lightweight as well. That's
Yeah,
obviously made a
yeah.
difference.
And obviously he carries power. But very much like his dad, comes forward, wants to sit on your chest and have a tear up. And unfortunately, Flynn just couldn't handle that. And he sort of beat him up, did he? Really, it was a bit of like the old school days, and you just watch one of the kids just get absolutely levered, and unfortunately, Flynn just couldn't cope. And like I said, hopefully he has swift recovery with his jaw broken, but. Fair play to Michael Gomez because now, going into that fight, hopefully if he does get announced, it's going to have huge confidence because he didn't have much confidence in the lead up to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. We wish both guys the best moving forward. And like I say, it'll be good to catch up with Michael Gomez Jr. real soon. Shout out to both Alex Murphy and Josh Holmes for producing one of the rounds of the year. It might go under the radar because it was early on the bill and there'll be bigger fights to come. But I tell you what, Jamie, that was
Mad
enthralling.
round.
Alex Murphy, again, another great guy that we've had on the channel. Josh Holmes has been on the channel as well. So both really good friends of SimBoxx, and they've helped us out with their time over the years. But Josh Holmes, man, he was rocked and rocked heavy by Alex Murphy, who's not renowned as a puncher, but he had his man hurt, goes in for the kill and gets clocked himself with a big left hook. It was a concussive punch, wasn't it? And for him to get up from that and then be put down again, hats off to him for going out on his shield. And yeah, massive congrats to Josh Holmes. I was really impressed with that, Jamie. Like, what a round of boxing.
Yeah, just for how long it lasted, let's probably not go to the round of the year, but it's definitely up there because wow, like I said, would not expected that from Alex Murphy. Didn't see it coming in bang out of nowhere. You're like, whoa, we've got him here, and I thought he was going to stop him, and out of nowhere gets clocked himself, and you're like, yo, what's going on? And fortunately, he took the heavy of the punch, didn't he? And it was a heavy knockdown, the way he went down. But like you said, fair play, got up on his toes again, went out with his shield. But fair play to Josh Owens because he looked like a man on the way out and just produced an absolute devastating punch and turned the fight. And yeah, what a round.
I really think Josh Holmes is somebody that one of these promoters, I dare say Frank Warren might have rights on him at the minute, but he's definitely somebody they should be taking a look at because he's got himself up to 18-0 now. And when he steps up correctly, he produces the goods. He won the English title in 4 rounds. Alex Murphy on paper was his most difficult fight. He's dealt with him in a round. Joe Gallagher in his corner. He sells a fair few tickets. What's the not to like there? I think Josh Holmes could be a real like star in the making, especially in that lightweight division that's very active on the domestic scene. Let's see what the kid's got and give him another opportunity on one of these bigger platforms.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously if he's not signed to Frank, definitely get him signed up, and it's definitely a fight that he could work with and navigate a few fights for him where he sells good numbers and gets a profile, and then obviously he's got a bit of ability, and potentially we could see him moving up the ladders, potentially fighting for a world title.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see where the Josh Holmes story goes. A couple of upsets on paper, no less. The Jerome Warburton defeating Nathan Heaney and Brad Pauls pulling it out of the fire against Shaquille Thompson. Um, Two opposite ends of the spectrum, I think it's fair to say. The Jerome Warburton, Nathan Heaney maybe at domestic level. Brad Paul's putting himself in contention for the IBF middleweight world title that's now vacant. Two great wins in totally different fashions. We'll start with Jerome Warburton, a guy that we kind of know through the Kieran Farrell People's Gym. He worked with Kieran for a little while and we've had him on the channel. It's always been in the breadmaker, hasn't it, to produce a performance like that? And someone like Nathan Heaney, who's been around, won British titles, took a couple of losses. I think that was the best I've seen of Jerome Warburton. I think it's fair to say he boxed out of his skin and a great disciplined performance.
Yeah, he shocked me, to be fair. I didn't. I thought Nathan Heaney was going to be too experienced, too big for him, but wow, what a performance! And like you said, he was very disciplined in what he did. He never deviated. But to be fair, he never looked like he were going to lose, did he? I don't know what Nathan Heaney's game plan was, but he didn't execute it in any way, shape, or form. And the worst thing was, he just looked like he couldn't cut off the ring. Um, he looked stuck in the mud, and that's no disrespect to Warburton, but because he put on a great performance. But
That's it. And he's just not to cut you off there, mate, but just to say as well, there's a lot of uneducated eyes that might look at that performance from Jerome and maybe say he was running or he was moving too much. But that was a clinical performance. That was near perfect on the back foot boxing.
yeah, that's back, like I said, on the back foot boxing at its finest. And the idea of boxing is you hit and you don't get hit, and he executed that perfectly. And obviously it helped that Nathan Heaney just couldn't handle it in at all. He just couldn't get close to him, and when he did get close to him, he didn't have the speed to let his hands go. And you know, it probably wasn't an easy night's work, but it looked easier because I tell you now, it definitely wouldn't have been easy to have stayed 100% focused the whole way through like Jerome did. And fair play to him because he's had to come up the hard way there, on the small hall shows. Fought for the Welsh title and won that. So, fair play to him. Hopefully, he gets a few big opportunities on the back of this now.
Yeah, absolutely. What a beautiful moment after the fight as well when he brought his young lad into the ring and he said, this belt's for him, and he's been drawing pictures of his dad with a belt, and there he is stood with it, and yeah, just a real feel good moment. The few and far between in a brutal sport like boxing, but that for me, Jamie, was a really nice moment.
Yeah, it's very touching, wasn't it?
Shaquille Thompson He looked to be the next big thing, almost like the worst kept secret in British boxing. He's 6'3", fights at middleweight. He's built like a tank, and he seemed to have it going all his own way for many rounds against Brad Pauls, and then from nowhere he's stopped and he's defeated for the first time. Brad Pauls rejuvenates his career, former British champion, and as I say, puts himself right in contention with that IBF world title. So it'd be interesting to see where Brad goes from here, but shocked, it's fair to say, with the way he pulled it out of the fire. Happy for him, but shocked.
Yeah, it was wild. It was definitely not expected. But, like I said, he was in complete control throughout the whole fight. Won every single round. And it was, sometimes it was not great to watch because of how easy it was and how much punishment at times Pauls was taking. And he's just like, and out of nowhere, you just sat, because it was one of them where you watch it and you're like, yeah, yeah, oh, he's got this all day. And you might have a little thing. And it was like, whoa,
Yep.
shit, what the fuck? What's going on here? And he just couldn't recover, could he? He was all over the place, and it was 100% the right decision from the referee. I don't know why he was complaining, because he was all over the place, getting back up when
Yep.
when Howard was picking him up. It was just a bit of a wow moment. One of them where you just didn't expect it. And fair play to Pauls, because now, like you said, IBF middleweight titles there, and there's a good chance he may end up fighting for it.
Yeah, absolutely. We wait to see what comes in the middleweight division. Moving back onto Moses Itaumas, there was a complaint there as well, wasn't it, from Jermaine Franklin, which looks absolutely absurd that each and every time you watch the replay of the stoppage back. He gets caught with that uppercut. He gets knocked with the right hand on his way down. He lands face first in the canvas, and then at some point, his corner feel that he can be aggrieved with a stoppage. I've not watched it back to see where he was at, the count of 8 or 9 or whatever. I tried counting myself on the night, how many seconds, and then it cut to Moses celebrating. And I was trying to work out how many seconds he was on the canvas for to see where he might have been at 8, 9, or 10. But let's have it right. You're landing face first in the canvas, mate. It's game over.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know why his team were complaining. Obviously, Franklin's going to complain. He's a fighter. He's going to want to go out on his shield. I get that. But his team, it weren't even like it was one of them knockouts where it was a flash knockout. He was off balance, got caught nice, and he's gone down. It was one where he's hit him, and it's took a second or two for it to register. And then if you watch him, his eyes are all start spinning everywhere. He starts spinning everywhere. And on the way down, he takes a right hand as well.
Yeah.
Let's not forget there was that straight right hand that he put across him as he's going down. So, like you said, we don't actually know when he did get up, but I can tell you now, he was, even if he did get up at 9, he wouldn't have been in any condition to carry on fighting. And this is the land of the giants, where one punch is all it takes, and in that condition, it could be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of Moses Itaumas, we'll try and play fantasy promoter if you like. And we're looking at the heavyweight landscape. We've got Wardley Dubois. We think that Moses is going to be made, or he has been made, WBO mandatory challenger for that. But we know if Wardley beats Dubois, it's going to be a bit sticky there for them to get it
Mm.
on with them both being trained by Ben Davison. And I don't think Ben's likely to give either up at this stage. We've got Okola against Yoka. We've just had Dave Allen against Hergovich announced. Caballero's kind of waiting in the wings to see what goes on with the WBC title with Alexander Usyk against the kickboxer in May.
Yeah.
So you're kind of looking around and you're thinking, there's not too many options at the minute, is he? He's going to be one of the most marketable guys, but you're going to have to pay these opponents to come in now. He's getting that reputation. People are going to want some kind of reward for the risk because he's not coming in with a belt just yet. Where do we go with him from here, Jamie?
It's one of them in it, like, so if Wardley keeps the WBO title, they- they're not going to fight. Like you said, it's too sticky, and they are close mates as well, so I can't see that happening. If Dubois wins it, then I think that's an easy fight to make. But apart from that, there's no one really available, is there? I was just thinking off the top of my head, maybe Zheli Zhang, but I think he goes in there and he obliterates Zhang because he's too slow with his feet. He's old and he's not got a massive gas tank. So I think we'll just end up watching an absolute whitewash there. So I don't really know where he goes at the stage. It might be one of them where he has to sit out for a while
But at this
and wait
stage
to
of
see
his
how the
career,
landscape
that's not
plays
really
out.
something we want to see, though, is it? We don't
No,
want
of
to see him
course not. We don't want to see that. But then I'm just thinking, where does he go? Because everybody's kind of tied up, unless a Coley does the business with Yoker, and that's something I wouldn't mind watching at this stage and get that on because that could be a quick bit of a quick turnaround. So,
If
but
it was a
WBA,
Kohler, sorry,
WBA
if it
actually.
was a
Go on.
Kohler, imagine the build up to that there was a backstory to a Kohler sparring Moses when Moses was in his school uniform. You turn up to the
Yeah,
gym at 15, 16, and then the fighting potential with a vacant world title on the line. Who knows how the landscape's going to play out? But imagine that for a backstory.
yeah, because obviously he openly admitted that he would
Yeah,
put it all over him and he couldn't deal with him. So, that would be very interesting how that plays out in the conferences and whatnot. But I think Garcia is also a realistic opportunity
that's the one.
for him
That's
to
the one.
go,
Yeah,
especially the WBA. If they put him up to super, then he's obviously the official WBA world champion. Obviously, what we consider the real one, we don't
yeah,
really count the regular. Then that's a fight. Obviously, that's probably the route that he would take because that's the only belt that's not kind of tied up at the moment.
yeah. I can see that being the way forward for Moses, but it is we say about when you get to this kind of level. Because, for instance, it was a 14-0, 12 and of them coming by way of knockout. You'd be kind of going, oh, maybe get a British title just to have it on the ledger that he's won the British title. But that's a step back now. Plus, the British title's already on the line in a week's time on the Fury undercard with Jamie TKV against Richard Riakpo. But he's beyond British title level at the same time, isn't he? So he is kind of at a bit of a no man's land. He's waiting for the dust to settle and the cards to lay where they'll lay. So it's a great position, but it's also a frustrating position to be in with the Moses Itaumas camp.
Yeah, of course, and that's the only issue that he's got to do. Does he sit around and wait? The Gassiev opportunity is probably there, but it just depends on whether Usyk is stripped to the belt. So again, he's going to have to wait. But I think if you want to get him back out quick, I think probably Zheli Zhang is probably the most realistic opportunity. It's not one I want to see, but I think it's one to keep him ticking over that will provide him with some good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So from the potential future heavyweight division, we'll move nicely into previewing the older heavyweight generation, for the want of a better term. This weekend, Jamie, we have got Derek Chisora versus Deontay Wilder. And in 2026, we're heading into a fight between these two long-standing heavyweight contenders and former champion in the case of Deontay Wilder, with almost like role reverse. And I think we've said this already on the pod in the weeks after the official announcement. But Derek Chisora heads into this fight as a solid betting favourite, and Deontay Wilder is a sizable underdog. Dare say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that it would have been complete flip. That Deontay Wilder would have been a solid favourite at any other point in boxing history. But as it is, Derek Chisora, Deontay Wilder. You excited for this one, Jamie?
Oh, of course I am. Like when Chisora turns up, you know it's going to be a banger. And the fact that his dance partner is Wilder, the hard hitting bronze bomber, it's shaping up to be an absolute classic. And I don't know what's actually gonna how it's gonna unfold really, because Chisora could obviously go in there and maul him because it's at their point in their careers where I think Chisora is the favourite, which
Yeah.
looking back, I think Chisora could probably I think he could take him out in this fight. But the mad thing is, even though we've not seen it in his last few fights with Wilder, he has still got that right hand. And this is one of them opponents where he can land it on him because Chisora is there at times to be hit. And in the way he puts the work in, there's times where he likes to take a break in between in the round. And, that's where I feel like Wilder can catch him. But I think it is crazy, isn't it, to think that Chisora is the favourite going in when Wilder was out there back in the day, absolutely knocking everybody out. And the three fights with Fury didn't even dent his credibility for him. But now, obviously, it's dropped to the point where Chisora's the favourite, and you wouldn't have thought that in a million years. 43-year-old Derek Chisora is the favourite against Deontay Wilder, the ex-heavyweight champion.
For me as well, like we're talking about potential fireworks on fight night, I want fireworks on fight week. This brotherly love that's been going on in the build up has been great. There's a lot of respect there. But sell this fight, man. There's going to be fireworks on the night. Let's have fireworks in the build up. Two of the biggest characters of this heavyweight division or any other heavyweight division in history. Great talkers, great smack talkers. I want to see a bit of that this week, Jamie. I don't want none of this hugging and loving and all that anymore. You know, I want some effing and blinding and chuck a table or something. You know what I mean? Get us going because that's what this
Yeah,
fight's going to be.
that's the thing. That's what we know Chisora is known for, and obviously the bronze bomber from the old days, screaming that from the top of his lungs. But I think that will come back this week. I think Chisora knows the game plan, doesn't he? Chisora knows the game, and you know he's not just got a good dance partner in there in the fight, but he's got one in the press conference in the build up if they do it right. And I do think this week we are going to see fireworks in the build up. I think Chisora is going to push that pace and get into Wilder's face and bring that old school Wilder back out of him.
Absolutely. And I think that old school Wilder, bringing it out of him, that's the bronze bomber, and that's the alter ego. Do you think there's a correlation between Deontay Wilder seemingly losing his spark in the ring? We've seen him go out with a bit of a damp squib against Joseph Parker. He kind of no-showed against Zhilei Zhang and was knocked out brutally. Then he had his comeback fight. He went 7 rounds with an unheralded American contender that he would have flattened in 30 seconds in his prime. Do you think the marrying of that Wilder with the lack of aggression and spite and pure ferocity out of the ring with Wilder, do you think those two marry together? Do you think it's a mix of both? And that's what we're getting now that Deontay Wilder at 41, 42 years of age is completely different in and out of the ring.
I think he is completely different. I feel like, do you know when you put, like, I don't know, probably going into some psychology bullshit here, but when you're putting on a persona, which it was the Bronze Bomber for so long, and it were working, I feel like he probably became the Bronze Bomber. And then when he did start losing, because you could see it affected him mentally, and I feel like then that was where he lost the Bronze Bomber. Like, I think he got so engrossed in being the Bronze Bomber that when it shattered, his whole reality kind of shattered. And, because he completely changed, didn't he? I know he went off
Yeah.
to the woods and did his little ceremonies and stuff, but I think a lot of it came down to the fact that he took his persona a bit too far to the point where it
It's
became
almost like
who
that
he was.
persona can't exist with a loss on the record. It was like almost
Yeah,
like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather couldn't be Floyd Mayweather if he was to have lost. And Deontay Wilder built his career on being unbeatable, and he can be behind on the cards, and at any second, whether it be in the first round or the last, he's going to catch you and he's going to find you. And it was like that persona was built on being unbeatable, undefeated,
yeah.
and that way you can't then continue like I say with Floyd. Floyd could never be Floyd if he'd went 49-1 or 48-1. That with Wilder, I think he's dangerous that he went and done his thing in the woods, like you say, with these ceremonies, and I can't remember the place that it was called, but if you're stripping back your ego, your pride, that for me, I thought he was done. I thought he was retiring. I don't know how you
Yeah.
go through a process like that mentally, then try and forego all that, put that out of your brain, and rediscover the demon, the beast within from before, and go back to the boxing ring. I don't see how those two work together. It's got to be one or the other. You either do it at the
And
end of
that's
your
why
career,
I
or you
think he
don't do it
loses.
at all.
That's why I think he loses to Chisora, because I don't think he's lost that ego. And a big part of him winning was he was so egotistical, and he genuinely got to the point he believed his own hype. And now I don't think he believed in himself. And it's just obviously he's making big bucks, and of course he's going to carry on fighting. But I do think without that bronze bomber ego, he's not the same fighter, and he will continue to pick up losses against hard opponents, especially opponents like Chisora that's going to come and take you into a dogfight.
So they're both 49-0. This has been billed as 100, which I think is absolutely not 49-0, sorry. They both had 49 fights. This is equally the 50th fight. It's been billed as 100, which I think's unbelievable to think that they've had 100 fights between them. I think it's something like 66 knockouts, two stalwarts of the division. Are we believing that one or both or neither of these guys, regardless of the result on Saturday, will play devil's advocate either way? Are we saying that both men retire and sail off into the sunset with a big bag of cash on Saturday from the O2?
I think so. They've got her out there. Well, Chisora's come out and said that this, no matter what, this is the end for him. And I think if you're Wilder, win or lose, it's time to give up yourself as well. And I think, if he does win, he can sail off into the sunset. And I think Chisora, obviously, it'd be fantastic if he wins. But I think if he loses, he don't lose any respect from the boxing public. He'll still be well loved. But the time is right. I think Wilder's 40 as well, isn't he?
I think
Or is he
Wilder's
for?
older. Is he 41, 42? They're very similar in age.
Yeah,
I'd
that's
have to
what I
double
mean.
check.
Yeah, and
Very, very similar.
I know you can go on a bit further in the heavyweight division, but I think when you're hitting the 42s and 43s and you have, you know, 50 fights each, it is probably about time where, you give your brain a bit of a rest and your head less punishment.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is with Derek Chisora for me is at 49 fights, and he beat Otto Wallen, which was a fight he was an underdog in, and he won that, and he won it well. And it was a packed out arena in Manchester, and they sang his name coming in. He cried on the way in, and they sang his name, and he cried going out. But then when he pulled them name cards out, and there was Dubois, there was Joshua, there was Usyk, you kind of like that didn't need to happen. That was the end. If he wanted to go out on high, so if he loses to Wilder, he'd retire in my opinion. But if he wins, that's just leading to another opportunity. I
Yeah,
don't
it
I
will
don't
because
see
obviously,
what I don't see what Chisora needs to fight, and all power to him, but we don't want to see these guys lose the faculties later in life. And I think sometimes he might need saving from himself. And if he wins this, he was highly ranked with the IBF. I dare say there could be an IBF title fight for him after this. Wilder, I think it fully depends on where he's at in terms of financially. He's earned a lot of money later on in his career with that WBC world title, with a trilogy with Tyson Fury, a couple of fights over in Saudi, even though they didn't go his way. I'm sure he got paid handsomely for those. Deontay Wilder loses, I can see him retiring. If he wins, what if Deontay Wilder's Moses Itauma's next opponent? If he beats Derek Chisora, he's going to be marketable. It's
yeah,
not. It's
yeah.
not a good fight for him. It's not a good fight for him
No,
against
no,
Moses.
no.
But money talks, and if he beats Derek Chisora, who's to say that Wilder versus Moses Itaumas doesn't happen for a vacant IBF world title?
I'd love that. I think that's one of them where it will establish Moses in terms of like ranking. And when you look back at his record, when it's all done and dusted, you'll be able to go, yeah, he jumps at 15 and know he's fighting Deontay Wilder. Beat,
Half his age as well, literally half his age.
yeah, yeah, but obviously, I won't mind watching that to be fair. And it's obviously it's got Moses Itaumas victory all over it, but I just think because the bronze bomber, no matter what, you're always in the back of your head thinking it just takes one with him. It just needs to land it once, and he will always have that. So I think, yeah, definitely that would be a bad one to make. But I think 50 fights each, win or lose both of you, probably for your
Too
own health's
romantic,
sake.
Jamie. You're too romantic. Boxing's
I
a
know,
brutal sport. It's not going to end on a good note,
I
unfortunately.
know, I know. I'm a lover, aren't
Right, let's get on to some predictions with a big fight on Saturday night. Derek Chisora, Deontay Wilder. You've alluded to your thoughts, but something up from me, Jamie. How's it go down? First bell Saturday night.
I reckon Chisora is going to stop him in like the sixth.
You reckon?
Yeah, yeah, I do reckon, yeah.
I'm going to be controversial here, right? And this was something that come into my mind when I was watching something on DAZN, and I've just got this feeling, I feel that the bronze bomber one more time, and I think Derek Chisora has never ever been the most difficult to hit. I think it's going to be uglier earlier on. I think they're going to be leaning and pushing and whatever else like Derek Chisora likes to do. But I just think Deontay Wilder's going to uncork one, and we've alluded to it so many times to say that he only needs 1 second, and I think he finds that 1 second against Derek Chisora. Nothing against Del Boy, he's a great character and he's a real stalwart of the British boxing scene.
He is there to be in it.
He's there to be hit, and if Deontay Wilder finds it for one split second, he turns the fight on its head. And for me, I'm going to go Deontay Wilder knockout at some point. I'm not going to put around on it because you never know with Wilder. I'm just going to say Deontay Wilder by knockout at some point.
Yeah, can't argue with that one. To be fair,
I'm putting myself up there to be shot down, so don't worry about that. On the undercard, there's some good fights on there, but I want to give a shout out to Denzel Bentley returning to the ring after 12 months away through no fault of his own. He's been involved with some murky stuff in that middleweight division with Janibek failing his drug test and holding up the division. But he fights Saavedra for the interim WBO middleweight world title. And for me, Denzel Bentley is one of the very best fighters on UK shores, very underrated. He's took his losses, he's bounced back, and he's looking like on the verge of winning a version of a world title. So yeah, shout out to Denzel Bentley, and I'm sure he's a fighter that you like to watch as well, Jamie.
yeah, big fan of Denzel Bentley. He's been in with everyone, hasn't he? And he's always gave a great account of himself, and it's good to see him getting them opportunities. And like you said, it's another version of the world title, and obviously it's gonna lead you onto a possible WBO world title opportunity after that anyway. And that'll be good to see because he definitely puts the work in and he does the graft in the gym. And there's a lot of nice guys in boxing that don't quite get what they deserve, and hopefully, he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Before Saturday night, we have got the small matter of Pat Brown, the very exciting, hard hitting Manchester cruiserweight. He goes in with the toughest name on his record today against Vasil Ducar, who's fought the likes of Chev Clark, Chris Smith, amongst others, Jordan Thompson in the British cruiserweight division. That fight goes down in Altrincham on Friday night. Jamie, you a fan of Pat Brown and his fledgling career at the minute?
Yeah, Pat's one of them where you can already tell, can't you? He's got definitely going places. I know there's talk of him obviously pushing him soon, very quickly, but I just let him have his journey for now and let him keep selling them crowds out in Manchester and especially up in it's an Altrincham again, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
we'll be in the house. SimBoxx got accredited. Whoop, whoop.
Boom,
So
boom, let's go.
absolutely. So we'll be ringside in Altrincham Ice Rink. I've been warned that it can get very cold there with it being the ice rink. But with Pat Brown, I think he's not put a foot wrong. And you only have to listen to some of the people talk about him that's in and around his circle, the likes of Dave Allen. Don't know if you watched the Dave Allen and Pat Brown podcast on Matchroom.
Yeah, I've seen some of it. It's
Yeah,
brilliant to be fair.
brilliant watch. You know, they're proper like a Max and Paddy duo. But you listen to Dave Allen talk about him, or you listen to other fighters that have sparred him, or watch him spar, and he seems to be this next big thing. And I said to my brother earlier, I said, Pat Brown's like Moses, you know, he just doesn't have the hype. You know, he's probably not as talented as Moses, but he's 5 fights, 5 wins, 5 knockouts. He's at the weight below, so he carries a lot of power. He's eventually going to move up to heavyweight. Pat Brown versus Moses Itaumas could be a huge fight at one day in 3 or 4 years with a heavyweight world title on the line.
Yeah, of course it would be, and he's definitely on the path to get into that Pat Brown. And like you said, he's not got the hype, but I'm sure in the coming months and the coming, especially over the next year, being with Matt Truman, obviously the best salesman out there in Eddie Hearn, he'll definitely start pushing him, and he'll become a bit of a household name before you know it. And I think he'll be fighting for a world title probably by his 15th fight, just like Moses Itaumas. I think there'll be a lot of similarities in their careers.
Absolutely, and I think that's where I was pulling the parallels from. Is that again? I'm not comparing them talent wise. They're both on the separate journeys, and Moses is Moses, and he's a world renowned boxing prodigy at the minute. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying in terms of the career trajectories that we said before about Moses not really being at the point of fighting for a British title. He's beyond that. Pat Brown, for instance, was ordered to fight John Hedges for the English title, but he'd start an overwhelming favourite, for that. And then
Yeah.
got Fidel Riley, who's kind of moving on now. He's fighting Masternak on the Chisora Wilder card. And you kind of look around and you think, like an Isaac Chamberlain maybe, or a Chev Clark. You're not really sure. You look and you're thinking Pat Brown's going to be a heavy favourite against those kind of guys, especially fighting someone like Vasil Ducar, who's an international opponent. Think we're going to skip the levels and they'll be in world title contention because the cruiserweight's not that stacked, is it really? Some great
No,
fighters there,
it's
but
not.
it's
Yeah.
not stacked as some of the other divisions. Before you know it, I think he's going to be, like you say, taking out fringe world title fighters, and then Jai Optai moves up, and you've got Zerdo and David Benavidez fighting for a couple of the titles. It's going to be wide open at cruiserweight, and I think Pat Brown's going to take over, man. I really do think he's going to explode onto the scene and kind of go under the radar with it as well.
Yeah, I think he'll be on the radar for quite a while, and then eventually, I think the juggernaut bit of which is Matchroom will really get him out there because he's got a good personality, and he's got that
Yeah,
personality for boxing. And like you said, you watch the podcast with him with Dave Allen. It's it's not just about boxing. It's quite funny,
yeah.
and you can see, you know, the relationship between them. But more importantly, like he is a character, and I think if you can get him on the mic and really push him and promote him, I think he could sell himself.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to that. I'll be down at the press conference tomorrow, and as we say, we'll be there on fight night. So keep our viewers keep your eyes peeled for all the content coming from those two events. We're really looking forward to that. Let's clear up the weekend. So we've got, as we say, the MVP card on Sunday, headlined by Terry Harper against Caroline Dubois. We've got Lauren Price in Wales on Saturday night. Looking forward to those two cards. But Jamie, I want to move forward to talk about this week's interview that we put out. Kieran Farrell, a good friend of ours. We waited and waited to put it out because we didn't want it to get lost in the Moses Itaumas hype over weekend. And yeah, really interesting chat, wasn't it, with Kieran to talk about all things
Oh, mate,
Daniel
yeah,
Dubois.
it was definitely explosive, mate. And there was one of them where you like, you listen to what the inside the camp's like, and you can't quite believe it. You think it's all, this, it's posh, it's prim, it's proper, and then you realise, it was actually sounds like a bit of a shambles that. And Kieran's one of them. He wears his
Proper,
heart on his sleeve, and I don't think he's one to go and sit around and tell porcupines. the thing with him, he also we've known him, and he looked like he was ready to just tell his side of the story, and he had a lot to say. And boy, did he just go off! And when it ended, I think we both looked at each other, and was like, "Wow, that was insane! I can't believe we've just got all that."
Yeah, absolutely. So anyone listening or watching, depending on where you check out the Let's Stop Boxing podcast, it will be available. I'll put the link in the comments, and obviously it's also already up on our channel. And for a mini exclusive, Jamie, we've got a part two coming with Kieran. We've already been on the phone, and he said he wants to follow it up. So I'm
Get
even
it.
more excited for that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And do you know what? Kieran's one of them. I think he's such a nice guy, but don't take him to the point where you treat him like a dickhead kind of thing, because he isn't, and he will stand his ground. He's from Haywood. They don't mess about. You know, prim and proper. They just get stuck in, and don't take him for a fool, basically. And he had a lot to say. So if you are listening, please go and watch it. It's very, very good, and it explains a lot. And for all the people that were going on about Dubois, AJ, Dubois versus Usyk with the party, if you want to know things, you want to find stuff out,
All
get
questions
watching,
are
get
answered.
listening.
Absolutely, guys. I really do implore you to check that out. It's one of the finest bits of work we've put together here on the SimBoxx channel. Jamie, let's clear up some of the latest boxing news. Uh, One that I'm going to mention, but I'm going to have to go and do my little bit of research to find out more. But this whole Conor Benn thing keeps dragging its heels with Matchroom, with Eddie Hearn, with Frank Smith, with Zuffer and Dana White. He's done an interview or a piece with the Overlap, the Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Roy Keane football podcast, which isn't the worst listen, but as soon as you see a boxer on there and someone as controversial as Conor Benn, straight away I'm thinking PR stunt. They're not going to have the balls to ask the real questions we want asking. Some sort of Adam Cattrall done on Talksport. He had the
Yeah,
opportunity there. He's been dragging Conor Benn's name through the mud for a long time now. He had the opportunity to sit down with him for 15, 20 minutes, didn't put the questions to him, come back with some bullshit excuse, some bullshit apology, and then laughed about it. Pathetic. We're not going to get any more from Gary Neville than we did from anybody else. But the one comment that has kind of gone viral, Conor Benn has denied that he's borrowed any money from Eddie Hearn. This is interesting because surely at some point, Jamie, there's a paper trail.
yeah, that can.
If I
I'm
send
sure
you
that
50p now, it'll show up on my bank transfer. I've sent Jamie 50p, So
yeah,
if
if you
you
want to send it,
talk,
bro, yeah, 100%.
but
Get it sent.
if you're
Yeah,
talking,
but
these were talking, was it six, seven figures he was talking? There's got to
yeah,
be
yeah,
a paper trace there, so someone's going to look very silly because if Eddie just goes, well, there you go, like he will with Coog or whatever on IFL, he'll go, there you go, dead simple.
yeah.
And
It can easily.
if he can't do that, then everyone supporting Conor Benn's going to be like, we told you.
Do you know what? If you're Eddie Hearn as well, you kind of would want to, as a kind of, what, fuck you, like, don't actually deny that I looked after you kind of thing. And I think also that another comment that stood out is you've got to understand, you've got a time limit. They wouldn't even get me dad a business flight to LA. But I'm kind of, it's like, why? Well, why should they? You're there, who they're looking after. They paid for your dad's flight. Yeah, it wasn't business class, but they're making sure that he's got a flight over there. Like, it's kind of
Look
like,
at Kieran as part of that interview. To go back to that, he was saying that he had to go and get in the online queue at Ticketmaster for Anthony Joshua against Daniel Dubois. He's second in the corner for Team
yeah,
Dubois, and he's queuing up for a ticket now. Conor Benn's starting to think that not only does he need all this help, that we should go and help his dad. And like you say, they sorted him out, but not to a level suitable to Conor Benn. Like, come on.
yeah. It's kind of made me like think, bit of a knob, aren't you? Really?
And then there was the whole rumours going around as well that his fight with Regis Prograis that was on the verge of being pulled. Regis has come out and confirmed that the fight is going on. There was talks of Regis Prograis being injured. Then there was also talk that Matchroom had kind of put an injunction in place to stop the fight because they don't know whether this fight is going under the Zuffa banner or under Gold Star, and if that's a conflict of interest, or however they want to word it. So it's been a bit of a.
It's just a mess, mate.
It
It's just an
is.
absolute
At the end
mess.
of the day,
And
let's get this one fight out of the way. See how the
yeah,
cards lay after that, and we'll move from there. Let's just get this fight out of the way because we know that, with all due respect to Regis Prograis, we know the way the fight's going. All this mess beforehand is getting a bit out of hand, isn't it?
it's just fucking pissing me off. It's like every time it's just all Conor Benn, Conor Benn. It's like I'm bored. I wouldn't mind if he came out and shown a bit of dignity, but he's not. And I think if he came out and was like, "Yeah, do you know what? I'm really sorry. I made a snake move, but I was financially motivated a lot." You can kind of like, yeah, sweet, but just fuck off now. It's boring.
Jamie has spoken, Connor, so do as you're told. Anyway, the fight was announced for Dave Allen last week or the week before. I think we thought it was going to be Zilly Zhang.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
rumors were unfounded. It turns out it's Dave Allen versus Filip Hrgovic at the Doncaster Football Stadium. Dangerous, dangerous fight, Jamie. I know
And do you
we'll
know what? It was
preview
the
it
one
more
that
in
we
depth
both
closer.
said. We both actually said out of all the
Yeah.
opponents that we mentioned, that's the one he should 100% not be taking. That's the most dangerous out of the three. And it
Honestly,
ended up being
like
that one.
honestly, with Filip Hrgovic, now I'm getting a degree of sympathy for him. He went into a great fight with Daniel Dubois, undefeated. He was stopped with some terrible cuts, but he gave Daniel all he could handle for four or
Yeah,
five
and
rounds
he was winning it.
in that fight. Yeah, and he takes that loss. He comes back. He batters Joe Joyce, and then all of a sudden we're looking at Filip Hrgovic like an also run. You know, like he's done for, like he's cannon fodder. Dave Allen, like I just don't get what's going on. I love Dave. We were saying before about the Pat Brown podcast. It's him and Dave Allen, and they've got a great bromance going on. But he takes the loss to Aslanbek Makhmudov. Then he drops down a few levels, demolishes a guy who he compared to area title level. Someone think, all right, you're better than area title level, you're better than English title level, British title. Then the Jamie TKV fights kind of fell by the wayside, and he doesn't kind of mix it at British title level to keep his name in the picture there. He goes right back up to world level because Filip Hrgovic is a world class heavyweight. And I just don't get it. We've seen it with
it
David Price. We've seen it with Makhmudov. And we're going to see it again with Hrgovic. I fear that this is a step too far for Dave Allen.
yeah, it will be. And I'll be funny. Ergovic is a lot better than Makhmudov, and he couldn't get close to him. So I can't. And Ergovic isn't going to let him get anywhere close to him. He's going to go in thinking this is such an well. He's not going to go in the build up, but when he's in there, he's going to be like, this is fucking quite a bit of an easy night's work. And the mad thing is, it's Dave Allen, so Wolf tickets will get sold. There'll be still, you'll go on the boxing forums and you look at the comments on posts, and people will still back Dave Allen. I think we backed him still against Makhmudov, but I think it's come to the point where, it's a few too many now. We kind of like, the whole can Dave Allen pull off the upset? It's gone at it.
And it's also the worry of not how dangerous this fight is now. It's always the what's next. Because you
Yeah,
beat Filip
but down the
Hrgovic,
line.
it's not the end of the road. What we're talking then again, and I'll say it again and again until the fight happens, and I don't watch it. I dare say that they're lining Dave Allen up to get a big win for Moses Itaumas, and I really don't want to see that. I really, really don't want to see it.
Nah, I think he's just at this point just damaging his own health, isn't he, really? And I think that would be another fight with Itauma where could seriously him, further on down the line when he's
Yeah.
older.
But again, we'll always add an asterisk to it that we wish Dave Allen the very
Yeah,
best.
we love
He
Dave
is a
Allen.
great guy. Yeah, we do. We love him. And if he ever wants to jump on the channel, be more than welcome to. And I might even grab him down at the press conference. Who knows? And I'll speak to him about it. Jamie, anything else you want to add? There's a couple of good fight announcements with Dalton Smith against Alberto Puello. His homecoming.
Yeah,
The BBC mandatory title fight at super lightweight. We also had Conor Walker against Sam Eggington as well. Great
yeah, that'll be
fights.
an absolute barnstormer. That will be a centre of the ring. There's no doubt about that. And I think the other one was Ennis Boots as well.
Zayas, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great fight. I know a few people are saying at this stage, let's wait until they actually get in the ring. But it's signed, it's sealed, and I think it will be delivered as well.
One of the things that I'm going to give Jaron Boots Ennis a shout out for with that fight is we all know we wanted the Virgil Ortiz fight. That's one of the best fights, if not the
Mm.
best fight in boxing in 2026. But when that's obviously with whatever Virgil's got going on with Oscar De La Hoya, his manager and Golden Boy, Boots has gone, okay, no problem. Rather than ticking over, waiting for that maybe later on in the year, he's gone, well, let's go on to the champions in the ring. And he's probably gone for the, arguably, you got Josh Kelly there, you got Sebastian Fundora who battered Keith Thurman at the weekend, and you got Xander Zayas, all three good champions. You could argue that Xander Zayas is the most accomplished at that weight. And he's gone, okay, let's take that fight. So hats off to Boots. We need more
Yeah,
managers
because I
like that
think
in the sport.
that's what people wanted from Boots as well, didn't they? Just jumping in and having them hard fights because he's got a big record where it's not exactly fancy at the same time. But going back to Fundora, that was what a great win for him as well. And obviously, I know Furman's not fought. I thought what that's his second fight in 4 years. I know he's 37, but what a performance from Fundora! He just absolutely pummeled him. Then big long levers. Wow, it was pretty sad to watch as a Keith Thurman fan. I was like pretty wounded for him. I kept thinking, he might just catch you, he might, and it was like, no, it's just it's never coming. And I think maybe the Keith Thurman of old would have been able to have closed that gap, but not the Keith Thurman of now. That was pretty painful to watch, but fair play, Fundora.
Yeah, absolutely. A very, very exciting division at 154. Some great fights have been made, and they do look like they're getting made. Guys, that's a wrap for episode 21 of the Let's Talk Boxing podcast. I'd like to give a good shout out to our good friends Connor and Sean. They watch the podcast week in, week out. They're always leaving us comments and feedback. It's much appreciated, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone else that watches and listens. Make sure you leave us a like, a comment, a share, a subscribe. It all works. We've got plenty of content coming this week from various different fight week events. He's been Jamie, I've been Luke, and I'll catch you on next week's episode.